Welcome to Mortgage Talk 101 here on Super Talk 1270. Time to look behind the numbers. Buying, selling, refinancing. Mortgage Talk 101 addresses real issues in real estate. Now, live from the Super Talk 1270 studios, here's Mortgage Talk 101 host, Joe Sheehan.
And I am not Joe Sheehan. Joe's not here today. I'm Dave Flohr, Mr. Housing, filling in for Joe. Jim, how you doing this morning?
Pretty good.
All right. Great day in Mortgageville. Great day in Bismarck, Mandan. It looks pretty darn nice out there.
Going to be a hot one today.
Hot one. A little warm. That's okay. We can handle it.
Yeah.
Okay. We could have some rain, though. That would be all right, too. But I don't think we're going to get any. Okay. All right. Well, folks, Mortgage Talk 101, we are set to go. We've got a guest in the studio today. Joe's not here. So we brought in Heidi from Superior Insurance. And we are going to talk about flood insurance and homeowners insurance in general and stuff. So that'll be very interesting. You're going to give us a bunch of tips, etc. Right, Heidi?
Keep it interesting. So okay.
All right.
Asleep.
We'll see how we do. All right. Okay. Okay. As always on Mortgage Talk 101, we got to talk interest rates. Okay. They're pretty good, Heidi.
That's good to hear.
Okay. All right. Okay. The Freddie Mac survey. For this week, the primary mortgage market survey. They do this every week. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage averaged 4.13%, with an average of 6 points for the week ending July 17th, which is today. That's down from last week when it averaged 4.15, so just a very slight change. A year ago, the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage was at 4.37%, so we're considerably less than that a year ago. The 15-year mortgage averaged 3.23% this week. That's down from last week when it was at 3.24. And a year ago at this time, the 15-year was at 3.41. So mortgage rates are still good. Big surprise there. But, we're in a good environment if you want to buy a house. Come to Heidi for your insurance needs and all that stuff and get a quote.
Save you money both ways.
Oh, both ways. Yeah, exactly. Okay, a little news here from the MBS Highway. Barry Habib, one of the guys we usually quote here on the show. He's a mortgage expert extraordinaire for many years, so he knows what he's talking about more than I do. So I just copy his stuff. I just read his stuff. I just read his stuff, look at him, and then that takes care of it. But today they had some initial jobless claims are out, good numbers. And also they reported the housing starts for the month of June. Of course, this is nationwide. The housing starts for the month of June were reported weaker than expected at 893,000 units. That was a decline from last month's figure, which is May, which was revised lower down to 985,000 units. Building permits were also lower than expectations. That was a slight decrease from the previous month. It's a disappointing number, Barry says, but not terrible. Now, what was interesting is yesterday, the National Association of Home Builders released their housing market index for July. And this is kind of a direct survey of the builders, so it looks at more of a gauge of market activity. And this actually was for what they're expecting the month of July. And their index, they call it, actually for the first time, they were expecting it to arrive at a number of 50, this index, however it's calculated. And it actually came in at 53. So for the first time since January, this figure got above that 50 mark, so it shows positive territory. So the builders are anticipating an improving job market nationwide and stuff. So they actually that shows a better indicator than what the actual building permits were in May and June. So that'll be interesting.
So
we'll
they're
see.
thinking they can put some more out there.
We'll see if that plays out and if the builders are right in their sentiment. That's what they call this, the sentiment of the home builders, I guess, how positive they are. So let's see, what else? Some other economic news. Okay, from our friend Elliot Eisenberg at graphsandlaughs.net. Do you know about Elliot Eisenberg? He's a funny guy.
No.
He's an economist that's funny.
Well, that's pretty unusual.
Yes, but he has a website. It's called graphsandlaughs.net. Okay, so Heidi, you should go there.
Yes.
And what he does a thing he calls Econ 70. He puts out this blog every day, and it's 70 words or less, some commentary on economics. And so it's a nice short little thing that you can read and actually learn something. This comes from Tuesday. He put this one out. He says, while the unemployment rate, inflation rate, and job creation numbers are starting to improve, GDP growth, wage growth, labor force participation, labor productivity, and home building remain weak. Okay, it's as if the economy is schizophrenic. Since the Fed has no idea how this unfolds, that's reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah.
It cannot provide any assurances as to the timing or magnitude of future rate increases. Expect increased volatility as the first rate hike becomes possible. So the Fed, they just, Chairman Yellen was just out this week and testified before Congress, and she basically kind of said the same thing. And it was like, well, we don't know for sure when we'll hike rates. We're continuing with the taper,
how.
expecting sometime next year. Joe and I have talked about this before, and we think, really the market's kind of priced, as far as mortgages go, it's kind of been priced into the everything already, the interest rates hiking at
right.
that, once it finally happens, I mean, you may see rates go up, obviously, but the market is really already anticipating it because the Fed's kind of telegraphed what they're going to do. So it'd be interesting to see how
They tell us all
things-
what we have to do, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think they try to anyway. Regulations, just crazy stuff. Okay, some other fun number stuff we like to do here. From By the Numbers, this guy Michael Higley. He does this every week. He puts out a thing called By the Numbers. He just throws out some stuff. Did you know baby boomers? They are traditionally defined as the 78 million Americans born between 1946 and 1964. So the oldest baby boomer is now 68 years old. They're not young anymore.
No, that'd be my
No.
dad.
Yeah.
He's a baby boomer.
Yeah, I'm in there. I'm on the other end of the scale, though. I'm very close to the,
See, and
the
I didn't
end of the
guess.
baby
Aren't you
boomers.
proud of me?
Thank you, Heidi. That's very nice of you. Okay. Okay. Who was born in 1946 and is actually one of the first baby boomers?
No.
Bill Clinton.
Oh.
Was born in 1946. He's 68. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else did Mr. Higley come up with us this week? This is not a good number. Double trouble. Our nation's total outstanding debt has doubled over the last 7 years. The national debt was $8.87 trillion on July 4th, 2007. The national debt was $17.59 trillion as of July 4th, 2014. That's not a good number.
No,
we don't like to see
yuck.
that. Okay, however, the aggregate wealth of Americans from 2009 to March 31st, 14, that's 17 quarters. The total net worth of Americans, stock, bonds, real estate, equipment, businesses, etc., increased by $22.78 trillion, up to $81.76 trillion. We're rich. That's an average gain of $15 billion per day. I don't know if I've seen much of that $15 billion.
I haven't seen any of it.
Jim, have you seen much of that $15 billion increase?
Not really.
Not really. No. This room.
Wait, let me check.
So you can't share with us.
Oh, okay. Your wallet is still about the same size, huh?
I opened my wallet, the little bug flew out.
Okay. All right. So I'm with you there. All right. So we haven't, in this room anyway, we have not seen a whole lot of that $15 billion per day. Okay. Okay. A couple other ones. Well, let's see. We need a whole bunch more doctors. We need 51,000 more doctors by year 2025. But then we make it really expensive for them to go to school. You know what the average cost of 4 years at a private U.S. medical school?
Oh, I'm going to guess about $150.
$286,000.
Whoa!
$71,000 per year. We need more of them, but boy, it's expensive to get there. Okay. Well, Jim's kicking us out. First segment's done. We'll come back with Heidi from Superior Insurance and talk all things flood insurance, homeowners insurance, renters, whatever. We'll see what we get to. Okay.
Absolutely.
Our own radio station. Not Fargo, not the Twin Cities. Proud to be Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
Rock and roll hoochie coo from Johnny Winter, who passed away overnight.
Yeah, in Switzerland.
Just had the news. He was in Bismarck on June 20th, I believe it was.
Yeah,
So
very
just here.
striking figure
Yeah.
and a groundbreaker in blues rock. He produced Muddy Waters.
Yep.
He did an
Way
album
back
with Muddy.
in the 70s. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But definitely one of the pioneers of the genre rock and roll blues.
Pretty amazing guitar player, too.
Yeah.
He was kind of in that Hendrix. They were cut from the same cloth, I think, musically.
Yeah. So anyway, he passed away overnight in Switzerland.
He
so
will be missed.
That's our honorarium to Johnny Winter. Okay. All right. Okay, folks. Mortgage Talk 101. Dave Flohr filling in for Joe Sheehan today on the stainless steel microphone, and we have a guest in the show today, Heidi Rue from Superior Insurance. Heidi, tell us about yourself. How long you been in insurance business and all that good stuff?
You know, I'm going over 10 years this year of being in the insurance industry.
Okay. All right.
I've worked in independent agent for many years, and I decided to go out and do it on my own.
Okay. Good for you.
Yeah, it's
All
fun.
right.
It's a great adventure.
Okay. Insurance is can be very interesting. When we have our hailstorms that roll through North Dakota.
Oh, we don't even like saying those words.
We don't like those words.
No.
I'm sorry I said that.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
All right.
It is. It's a very interesting and difficult topic that people seem to ignore.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things you need to pay for it, but you hope you never use it.
Right.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, literally, that is
and
one
we
thing.
hope the same thing too.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with it. So anyway, but we're here to talk about flood insurance and homeowners insurance primarily, and let's start out with the flood insurance. Bismarck, Burleigh County, and Morton County are getting new flood insurance maps that are effective
August 4th.
August 4th. Okay, so what does that mean? What's going to happen?
Basically, FEMA came in, remapped, looked at the zones, looked at the flow of waters, and they are changing some of our areas from a low risk area to a high risk.
Okay, so what's the difference between low risk and high risk?
Low risk is an X zone here in North Dakota is what people know it as. High risk is AE. High risk is you're at high risk of flooding.
Okay.
Low risk is you have lower risk of flooding, but that doesn't mean you don't have any risk.
Okay. All right. So, so no, we didn't mention Mandan because Mandan is not.
They're staying out.
They
got some work to do yet before they throw those maps into force.
So it's real important for communities to be a member of the National Flood Insurance Program,
Absolutely.
if you want to call it a member. No, so Mandan.
You have to participate in it.
You have to participate in it. Is Mandan still participating?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's just they're not doing new maps.
Nope. They've actually just asked FEMA to hold off on their map changes until they can get some of the work that they need done.
Okay, so they're looking at probably like the Heart River and stuff where they want to try and do some diking or whatever it might be.
Fixing of a dike or things like that. Yeah, because if you don't ask them to wait, they'll just put it in there and it would impact a lot of people.
And without the corrective changes being made, that would throw a bunch of people into the
high risk.
The hazard area, and then obviously they'd want to get flood insurance, but their lender may require them to get flood insurance if they've got a mortgage, et cetera.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
Okay, all right. So in Burleigh, Bismarck, and Morton County, are there areas that now are in the high-risk zone that weren't?
We do. Apple Creek is going to be one.
Okay.
Hay Creek is going to be another area that are now going to be in a high-hazard area.
Okay.
I think Hay Creek is pretty safe in regards to homes because there is not a lot of building going on right there now.
Okay.
There's other areas that people wouldn't expect up in North Bismarck. We have some like on Canada Avenue, or we have some over by the golf course.
Tom O'Leary?
Hawk Tree.
Hawk Tree, okay.
Yep. So people wouldn't suspect that kind of thing.
Okay.
So there's definitely little changes here and there that had, unfortunately, to be made.
Okay. And obviously, you know, the amount of building that's going on in the city, and you're putting in fill dirt and everything and whatnot. That can change the flow of drainage.
Water and drainage, and it's actually one of the number one reasons why people flood is development.
Okay.
It's not like I always tell you, it's not the Missouri River always that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Development alone can change the flow of water. The more concrete you put down, the more asphalt you put down, the water has nowhere to sink in.
Mm-hmm.
So now it has to move somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the more streets and sidewalks we have, that actually affects where water goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So so the real important, if you're in a new development to know what your drainage looks like, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's still, I mean, even though you may know, like I always use myself and my husband as an example, we knew, we watched where the water flowed and where it came from and everything else, but then they built a house right beside us. Well, guess what went down? Dirt piles, tractors, equipment, and we had, 4 or 5 inches of rain a day there for a week.
Okay.
I mean, you should see how all that stuff changes the flow of water.
Yeah.
So, even in new developments, I say at least for the first year, you're not quite really sure where that water's going to go.
And until you get substantial enough rainfall also.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have, like, now it's been fairly dry, if you just put a house in, you might not know exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay. And then obviously the bigger, it's one thing to have the empty lot next to you fill up with another house, but then if you have, depending upon where you're at, if there's any commercial in the area where you have parking lots versus streets and driveways, that's going to affect it even more.
And it does. And I use my house as an example, and we live on a hill. We live up in North Bismarck by Cadmus-Lee and Jackson. Capitol Square is up there, and literally they built after us.
Yeah, okay.
And we've seen the actual physical change of the water once they laid down their concrete, they laid down their asphalt. I mean, it's amazing to see the water flow.
Okay. So the moral of this story is, be cognizant of that.
Yep.
And you like now in your example, you would be probably were in a low risk area, obviously.
It was a low risk area. So my flood insurance cost me $460 a year.
Okay.
And guess who got to put in a claim this spring?
You did.
I did.
For flood. And you live up on a hill?
I live up on a hill. It was snow melt and water runoff.
Okay.
And landscaping issues and right on in.
So you had to put in a claim, but now you also probably are looking at doing some landscaping.
Oh, yeah.
To alleviate the problem.
We had already had to do that, yes.
Additional expense as
Huge.
a new homeowner. Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
And once you already had paid for landscaping the first time.
Yeah. So now I'm going to tear it up and do something different.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, well, that's fun.
And
so,
that's another point to make, too. Not every neighbor does their landscaping the same or correctly.
Sure.
And that causes water problems, too.
Yeah.
So better safer than sorry.
Yeah, and there's, people, there's obviously things you can do when you're in it's your yard.
Right.
And you can put in whatever you would like for the most part.
But you can't control your neighbor.
Yeah. And they're doing the same thing, and you find out, oh, gee.
We don't jive.
That affected, both yards. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now with flood insurance. Okay, so usually people think, okay, I'm living next to a river, I'm living next to a lake, I might have water problems, I'm in a flood hazard zone, the special flood hazard area, the zone AE.
Right.
I got a mortgage, my lender makes me have flood insurance. Okay, so that's one aspect that is, if you're buying a house, you need to be cognizant of.
Yep.
Okay.
Know ahead of time.
Yeah, and now there's been a lot of talk about, the National Flood Insurance Program, going broke.
Yes.
Because of Katrina and Sandy, the hurricane issues on the coasts and all this
2011.
stuff. Yeah. A lot of issues with that. And it's kind of like in the Midwest here, we're kind of ignored because we don't get hurricanes.
Right.
We get a lot of floods. And
we do. Actually, North Dakota has one of the worst.
Yeah. So, we have the same issues here, and it's, it goes on. So there's been a lot of talk they were changing the rates for flood insurance and everything. What is the effect of it was the Biggert Waters Act?
Oh, that was a mess.
What happened with that?
What they basically did is they took out the standard rates and put in new rates for people in special flood hazard areas, the high-risk areas. Okay. And they basically said, hey, we're going to charge you X amount of dollars, 25% rate increase every year until we feel you're paying the right premium for your risk.
Okay.
But now on May 1st, they came out with the Biggert and Waters Affordable Flood Insurance Act.
Affordable.
Affordable.
Hey, throw that word in, and that's dangerous too, though.
And that took a lot of that away.
Okay.
So but the rates are still higher in the hazard areas.
Yeah.
They're higher than they used to be.
But really, there had to be something has to be done with this because
absolutely,
the program is going broke. We can't afford
to pay everybody.
to subsidize the rates
Yep.
anymore. Really, I mean, the government can't pay to subsidize it in full. So if you're going to build,
they did, but they did it too quick.
yeah, they did it all at once basically,
Yes.
and now
Yep.
they've gone back and kind of.
And now they're going to do a gradual
Yeah.
of 18%
Yeah.
every year.
So it is going to cost people more in the long run
Yep.
to, if you're going to buy a house or you own a house now and you're in a 100-year floodplain, basically, if you want
Yes.
to call it that,
Yep.
it's going to cost you more over a period of years here. It's going to
Absolutely.
gradually go up and it's going to be more expensive.
And it's going to affect the mortgages too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about the low-risk areas and then what's covered with flood insurance would be good. So, okay, if anybody wants to ask Heidi a question, give us a call at 663-1270. And we are going out on Bachman Turner Overdrive. We're going to take care of business when we get back with Heidi.
Your news leader, weeknights at 6 and 10. Super Talk 1270.
All right, Fog Hat, slow ride. We're on a fast ride here, though. We've got Heidi Rue from Superior Insurance. We're talking flood insurance, homeowners insurance. If you'd like to ask Heidi a question about your insurance, 663-1270. All right, Heidi. Okay, we talked about the new maps for Burley, Morton, and Bismarck. We talked about the high risk areas. And what the costs were and all the federal regulations and everything. But now, okay, if I'm in the high-risk area, okay, I am going to have flood insurance, more than likely. If I got a mortgage, I definitely have to have it.
Yep.
If I'm in there and I don't have a mortgage, then it's kind of up to you, but you certainly would be smart to do it. Okay, but now I live up on the hill, just like you. I live in the older part of Bismarck, but
In the low risk.
I would say there's no way, All right, so why am I wrong?
Oh,
If I'm in a low risk area, why am I wrong to not have flood insurance?
you're wrong because how many inches of rain can your house handle at one time? How much
I
can
don't
your
know.
streets handle at one time?
I don't know.
How much snow can build up on the side of your house and melt really
A whole
quickly?
bunch. I've gone through
Melt
that.
in one day almost.
I was living there when we had the 100+ inches that one year, and yeah, that was a lot.
And it went fast.
Yeah.
It didn't last as long as people thought it would.
Yeah, I didn't get flooded, but I'm glad I had I need sump pumps and all that
Yep.
stuff. But okay, so if I'm in a low risk area and we got and you heard about this through parts of the Midwest, South Dakota, Iowa, et cetera, they got all this rain dumped on them, like 7 inches in an hour or whatever it was.
And for
It was
multiple days.
Huge amount of rain. Okay, so I'm in a low risk area, and I'm sure there were people there that got their houses flooded. Okay,
Right.
now what? Why should I get flood insurance? Is that even going to cover me if something like that happens?
Oh, absolutely. You have to fit the definition of a flood.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't understand the definition of a flood.
Yep.
But it's a normally dry area that
Okay.
becomes inundated by water by 2 properties or 2 acres.
Okay.
And a property is a street.
Okay, so as long as my
if
street
your
or
lot and your street are flooding,
Yep.
you meet the definition of a flood.
Okay.
So once you meet that definition, and for example, in the low risk areas, it's $460 a year.
Okay.
My claim I put in this spring was $1,500.
So flat $460.
Yep, with a basement.
Okay.
$411 if you're slab on grade.
Okay.
So no basement, $411.
Okay. So my
And-
basement is worth $50.
Yep, $50.
Okay,
In
all right.
low risk.
Okay.
But there's coverages there for these people, especially down in South Dakota and even here locally. I think Linton had quite a few problems.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And they do more coverage than people think.
Okay.
They take care of your drywall, they take care of your insulation, your wiring, your duct work, washer dryer even in the basement,
Okay.
freezer,
Okay.
furnace, all that stuff.
Okay, so that's flood insurance covers if you're in low risk or the high risk.
Yep.
It's going to cover that. So what typically is in a basement that it's not going to cover?
They're not going to pay you to tape, texture, or paint your walls.
Okay.
They're not going to pay you to have baseboards, put sink pedestals back in, things like that.
Okay.
The reason for that is they say that you have a livable area upstairs, so it's not necessary to live.
Okay.
And really, we kind of enjoy our basements for fun.
Yeah.
We don't live in our basements.
Yeah.
We live upstairs.
Yeah.
So that's how they come up with that.
Okay. So is there a difference if it's, say, an 8-foot basement versus a 4-foot basement, where maybe you're in a split level house and you really do use that lower level for living?
No, anything below ground
Yeah. Okay.
is not going to have
Okay.
excess coverage. Now, if you have that slab on grade house and the water enters your main floor, you have way more coverage.
Yeah. Okay.
Then they're going to be putting you back to the way you were with the tape and the
Okay.
painting and the texturing and the floorboards and all of that.
Okay, sure. Okay, so now I'm in a low-risk area, and I've got a basement. Okay. And the only thing that, and it rains, okay, and it would meet the definition of a flood because we got 10 inches of rain in an hour. Okay,
Right.
so poof. And the water goes in my window wells, and it goes in my basement. And I had a policy, I'm covered for
Cleanup,
cleanup and
sewer backup.
and replacing the furnace,
Yep.
that sort of thing, like you
Yep.
said. Okay, so it doesn't have to get above onto my main floor for me to be covered.
No.
It's just so if it's can be defined as a flood, I can get covered.
Right.
Okay. And people have to understand your homeowner's insurance,
Does not cover
if that
any-
same example happens
Right.
and it just comes in the window, it's coming over the ground and it comes in my window wells into my basement, I am not covered for anything.
No, it's
There.
excluded out of your homeowner's policy.
Yep. So the only thing is, if I had a sewer backup rider, then if the sewer backed up and I could show, hey, the sewer backed up and the city would agree that that's what happened, then it could be covered.
Could. That's a
Could.
good word to use
Yeah.
because if the company were to determine that the sewer backup's due to flooding, then there's no
Then
coverage.
they could go, okay, that's a good
So then
point.
that's,
Yeah.
again, you have the flood insurance policy that does cover that.
Yeah. So really, the homeowner's insurance has excluded the flood coverage, and they can argue the point, even though you've got a sewer backup rider, that was caused by the
By
flooding,
flooding,
so
yeah.
we're not going to pay you anything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And I'm sure people seen that.
get homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
Or get
Flood
get,
insurance.
get flood insurance to supplement your homeowner's insurance is really the way to look at this.
Yeah.
And okay, so $460 a year. You have to think about what's it going to cost to replace my furnace, et cetera.
Cleanup.
The cleanup. Yeah,
I know
the
in
cleanup.
2011 we had one that their cleanup bill was $27,000.
Yeah, because you have to look at it. That happens in a place the size of Bismarck.
Yeah.
Those cleanup companies are going to be very busy,
Very.
and they're going to charge you for it
Yep.
to get you over there, unless you're going to do it yourself, and
And which we don't ever recommend.
you maybe can't do it
Right.
well enough.
Right.
Yeah. Now, would the coverage, if you did the work yourself, cleanup part, is that covered?
It is covered, but
So-
now you're getting paid minimum wage.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
but
how they'll pay you to do it yourself.
Yeah, okay.
But you're only getting minimum wage.
okay, so that's not bad.
Yeah. To do all that?
Yeah. So we should ask for the minimum wage to be hiked then.
Yeah.
Just be so if
Do
something
our
happens, we
homework.
get over. We don't be getting $7 an hour if we did it now. Well, anyway, we don't need the minimum wage hike. Okay, we won't go there. Okay. So so we talked about the preferred rate and the standard rate. Okay. How about condos? I'm on a condo and I got I'm on a third floor of a condo building. What do I need flood insurance for?
Right. But again, sewer backup,
Okay.
things like that, if it's deemed necessary or deemed due to flooding,
Okay.
you're not going to have coverage for sewer backup. So
Okay.
even if you are on the third floor, trust me, it can still get there.
Yeah.
And then too, with condos, there's two different ways to do it. The condo association themselves need to protect their building,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner inside the unit has to protect their stuff also.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, so the ground floor
Yep.
of the condo building might get flooded,
Right.
and if the sewer did back up and got in, popped up through my toilet, my kitchen, whatever,
Yeah.
my sinks, hey, I can get covered.
Absolutely.
So if you have it, yeah. Okay.
So-
Okay. So really smart to have it there too.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the questions that someone should ask an agent when they're concerned, they're buying a house, or they just want to say, should I get flood insurance or not? What are the questions that should be asked?
That's a good question. 'Cause
Okay,
there's lots of questions.
Okay. Well,
the
give
first
us a
thing,
few.
you want to determine, be aware of your surroundings. Look at what's going on. If you're not from here locally, you might not be familiar with the area.
That's a good point.
Your
obviously.
agent may have been here for 30 years.
Yeah, we've
Talk to them about
a lot
it.
of people moving to North Dakota, so that's a real good point. And the agent, you've been here 10, somebody else might be here forever,
Right.
and they're going to know some.
And
of this
they
stuff.
remember,
Yeah.
South Bismarck underwater.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, is to know the area, ask about the area. The other thing is, when you talk to them, find out what zone you're in. Are you in a high risk or a low risk? And again, your real estate agents are going to help you with that, but that doesn't always mean we're always spot on or we're always correct. And then the next thing is premium. What would it cost for this if I am in a low risk?
Yeah.
And what is my high risk?
Yeah.
When you get into high risk, you should be asking questions of, what's my elevation? You should be asking questions of, do we have an elevation certificate on file? Because those are all going to be things that determine your premium in a high risk area.
Is the elevation certificate, is that something that's on each house, or is it just for like Bismarck?
It is something that's nationwide. So if you build in a known hazard area, it would be required to have an elevation certificate.
For individual property.
For that property, for that structure.
Okay.
However, if you did, let's say you built your house in 1973, we weren't part of the flood, FEMA flood. We weren't participating community or anything like that.
Okay.
So we didn't have any guidelines to go by.
Okay.
So now these homes may not have an elevation certificate.
Okay.
So there's standard rates for these types of hazards.
Okay. So actually, a pretty good chunk of South Bismarck would probably not have elevation certificates because they were built in the early 70s or late 60s or something.
Right.
So, okay.
And if they do have them, you can usually find them on record with the county or the city.
County or city has that. All right, very good. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk some more, probably homeowners insurance, just in general, with Heidi Rue from Superior Insurance. And we are Peter Frampton.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we do?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
We can play the whole 15-minute version if you like.
Well, and then we can't talk to Heidi anymore if you do
Yeah,
that.
that would be a bummer.
And I keep requesting, like 80s and 90s material. So.
All right,
And
we'll
Jim
come back
ke-
with something from the 80s.
and Jim gives you 70s, man.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
All right, in honor of Heidi Rue from Superior Insurance, Jim brought out the 80s,
Spring of 1986.
the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah, I love this song.
Heidi, are you a West End girl?
Yeah.
Are you?
I think so.
You are a West End girl?
Yeah.
Well, this song was
It'll
for
be-
you. All right.
I was 6
Okay, in 86?
in 86.
Oh, jeez. I don't know if we want to talk to her anymore, Jim. She's
Oh,
too
dear.
young.
Oh, my.
Oh, man. Oh, well. Okay. Let's see. Well, we're talking flood insurance and hazard homeowners insurance with Heidi Rue from Superior Insurance here in Bismarck. And Heidi, just to follow up with the flood insurance, we've got building coverage and we got personal
Property.
contents property that we need to.
Right.
That's separate, right? So
Decipher
tell
the
us about
difference.
that.
Well, like I always tell all my clients, when you take your house and you dump it upside down, whatever falls out of that house, that's your contents or your personal property.
Yeah.
In flood insurance,
And in some places, that's a big heap
it
of
is
stuff. Yeah.
exactly,
It can
or
be,
things
very
you don't
easily.
even think about,
Very easily,
like
yeah.
garages. And in a lower level of a basement, anything underground, you do not have coverage on personal property.
Okay.
It's got to be on the main level, and the main level has to flood
Okay,
to have personal property covered.
Okay, so if I have a policy for flood insurance and I got stuff in my basement and it gets flooded,
Nope.
I couldn't get coverage for that personal contents in the
No.
basement.
Nope.
So if a flood is coming, I got to get that out of there if I
Yep.
want to save it.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Or at least get it on the main floor.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so now, but if I have flood insurance, I want to get personal contents coverage. And and more than likely, if I'm in the high risk zone, okay,
Right.
then that's a separate thing from the building coverage, correct?
It is, and
Okay.
and it's an additional premium. So a lot of people in the high risk areas choose not to get personal property contents, and I always caution them to at least have something, because then you get mitigation coverage also. So if you have to evacuate your house,
Okay.
and take everything off your main floor,
Yep.
and get it out to protect it, they have $1,000 built into the policy to help you with that.
Oh, okay.
But if you don't have property contents or coverage,
Yeah.
you don't have that.
Okay. Okay. So you definitely want to think about it. Depends, how fast is something like that going to happen?
Right,
Really is what you have to think about. Could I get all my stuff out
right,
before the waters come?
right.
And
Most times you can't.
yeah, 2011 here, it was kind of a slow mover.
Right.
People obviously were preparing for it.
Right.
You could get stuff out, but
Then you look at Minot,
where
who got no warning.
yeah, they had a warning, then it was okay, and they went back, and then so if they hadn't moved their stuff and left it somewhere,
It was in there.
it was in there, which was for most people.
And the other thing is, too, I always want to point out is, property coverage on a flood policy is not like your homeowners.
Okay.
It's only actual cash value. So
Okay.
if you have a 20-year-old TV, they're only giving you $20 for the 20-year-old TV.
Okay, not
You
worth
know,
it.
It's not
Yeah.
worth that. So that's the difference between the homeowners and the flood, is that's only actual cash value.
Okay, so you could cherry pick your stuff and just move out the new stuff.
The sofa that the dog ate, leave it.
Yeah, and if I have one of have you seen the new curved TVs?
Yes.
So if you had one of those, you would definitely want to get that out.
Oh, I'd be running.
Because that's like $3,000 or something. I know. Yeah, so you'd want to
They're
get
the
that
new
out.
ones coming in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So it's something to think about, though.
Absolutely.
And
I recommend it.
Yeah.
I at least recommend anywhere
Yeah.
from 10 to 20,000
Yeah.
minimum.
Okay.
I mean, it's still not enough for
Yeah.
everything that we own, but it would be something to put things back.
Right. Yeah. So because your homeowner's insurance again is not going to cover that
No.
if it's a flood.
Right.
So that's important. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about homeowners insurance. And what are the important things to ask an agent up front? I'm buying a home. I've never bought a home before. Our agency at North Dakota Housing, we got first-time home buyers.
Right.
I'm buying a home. What should I ask my agent about just standard homeowners insurance?
Some of the questions that need to be asked is, do I have replacement cost on my personal property?
Yeah.
Is my home insured for replacement cost or better?
Yeah.
What kind of deductible do
Yeah.
I have? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are seeing it all over. Deductibles are going nuts.
Well, wind and hail
oh,
is a set. Now they've separated that out, and that's a big thing. And of course, the insurance companies want a higher deductible on that,
wind and
which
hail.
you can understand because that is a big claim.
Huge cost
if you
to
have
companies.
a storm.
Right.
Yep.
But there are still some companies out there that aren't getting as aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say, especially like first-time homeowners, usually they're younger buyers. So can you afford to pay the premium a little bit more every month?
Yeah.
Or can you afford to dish out the $2,500 deductible?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, those are questions that they should really be asking themselves, too. And then such things like, hey, I have a trampoline for my kids. Is that covered?
Oh, is it?
Depends on the company.
Ah. There are
There are some companies that do exclude them.
Okay.
They're a liability.
So could you get a separate rider to cover
No.
stuff? But you
Or
can't
you mean
some
like
stuff.
the additional personal property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
So you could, but it's going to cost you extra to cover.
The trampoline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Some companies don't take them at all.
At all
Yep.
because of the danger of.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And another thing that you guys don't think about is dogs.
Okay.
What kind of dog do you have?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
we got
of-
two little. They're Yorkies.
See, you're good.
See, they bark, and then when somebody comes up to them, it's, "Ooh, hi."
Yeah, I'm going to lick you to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and people don't think about that kind of stuff. There are certain animals that some companies, not all companies, do not allow.
Yeah. And you probably want insurance because just in case,
If someone gets
your
bit.
dogs. Not that anybody's dog is bad or anything.
No.
It's because they're being protective of
The families.
the family, and that's great.
Yep.
I mean that's super.
And that's why we want them.
yeah. Yeah. That's part of the great thing about a dog.
Yep.
So, okay, that's great. So really the thing to do is if you've got specialty items, kind of, you want to ask about those.
Right.
Because they may or may not be covered by a particular company.
Right. Because every company is different.
Yeah.
So, and and the other thing too is that's really important when you're talking about homeowners insurance is you also want to know, trying to, like your roof. Is your
Okay.
roof acceptable?
Okay.
Back in 2001, 2005,
Yep.
we had a huge recall of Certainty shingles.
Ah, that's right.
Huge recall. So some of our captive companies refuse to have them at all. They will not take a home with T-lock shingles on there anymore.
Okay.
So that would be something that I'd be very upfront about asking too. Saying, my roof is 2001. I do have T-lock shingles. Will you take it? Don't wait till closing to find out
Yeah.
that they don't take it.
Good question. Good question to ask. Yeah.
So, and
deal.
if they do take it, what kind of coverage do you get on it?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing. People have to remember too, at a certain point, the roof is really so important on a house because obviously it protects you from everything.
Everything.
And that one thing you have to realize too is you're buying a home is to ask how old is the roof,
Absolutely.
right? Because at a certain point, the insurance companies will start depreciating the value of that roof. So then if we have a hailstorm, it's going to cost you $10,000 to put your roof on, but if it's 15 years old, you're not going to get
You probably get
10 grand
Right.
to
Yeah.
do it.
7, 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're on top of your deductible.
Right.
So you're going to have to come up with, say, $5,000 maybe
Right.
to
On
fix
top
the
of.
roof
Yep.
versus getting it paid in full because of the age of it. So that's something to always consider when you're buying a house. That's a question. Yeah.
And if that agent is someone that maybe represented the prior, or even too, real estate agents will do this for their clients, ask for claims loss history.
Exactly.
Has there been a history of losses?
Yeah.
Has there, that's protecting them also.
Yeah.
Then you can look, was it repaired? Was it not?
Yeah. Well, we've run into that before where something got paid for but didn't get fixed.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, that definitely can cause problems. So, yeah. Switch gears a little bit. There's a lot of technical stuff out there now with that you can do to get discounts on your home insurance, like alarms and fire alarms that
Fire
are connected to
extinguishers, yep.
monitoring systems
Yep.
that you can pay that are relatively inexpensive on a monthly basis.
Yep.
But if you have a fire in your house or water, your sink leaks or your water heater leaks, you can put water sensors in. What kind of discounts can people get for that?
The big one that the companies are on right now are the central alarms. So if someone breaks into your house or your house starts on fire, someone is dispatched.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to a dispatch center. It goes out to the police department. I
Yeah.
personally have one of those. It works
I
very
have one
well.
too. Yeah.
And the Bismarck PD was there, wonderful people. And central fire.
Mm-hmm.
If a fire breaks out, they're going to be there,
Yeah, I mean, if you're gone,
We're going to respond faster.
if
Absolutely.
you're gone, especially,
Yep.
and that fire alarm goes off, boy, to get the fire department over there right
Faster.
away
Yep.
versus the neighbor.
Wait till it's coming out of the roof. Right.
Wow, look
Yeah.
out! Dave's house is burning down, and then they got a call. So
And some of those discounts can be 5% depending on the company, but I've seen them as high as 35%.
okay,
And affordability of something like that. I personally use Pacific Sound security systems,
Okay.
and I pay $240 a year
okay,
for protection.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to me, I get a better discount than that.
yeah. Well,
It pays for itself.
We have one at our place, and we pay. It's like $15 a month, so a
Yeah.
little bit cheaper, but it's all wireless and everything. It's great. So anyway, that's it for Mortgage Talk 101 today. Thank you, Heidi, for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Superior Insurance, they can go check you out
On my Facebook page.
web page, Facebook,
Yep,
whatever.
and
Just look up
afewgoodagents.com.
A Few Good Agents. All right. And Jim, thanks for the show today. Joe, I think Joe's going to come back next week. I might be here too. I don't know. Okay. But we'll see you next time on Mortgage Talk 101. And we're going out with more 80s talk. It's my life. That's what we just did. All right. Thanks, everyone.